So I'm having some trouble with my camera, so I'm going to show you the class because that's the important part, right? But before we start talking about this week's work, I've had some questions about one of the quiz 1 questions about the legal right to confidentiality. It's important to stress that we do keep students' information that they share with us confidential. But because they are minors, the legal right belongs to the parents. So that is just one of those legal things. It's not important most of the time, except for when it is. So we just want you to be aware of that. I want to stress again how important it is to read all of the material. I know I said that in the announcement, but it is very, very, very important that you read all of the material and not just the textbook. The textbook is important, but in this course, which Dr. McDonald built, she's added a lot of additional resources, and those resources are used in the test. So last week was about the influences in our lives and about resilience. And there seems to be some research that supports the idea that those who overcome a lot of negative risk factors tend to be more optimistic, of at least average intelligence, and have support from friends and family, and have a foundation of faith. So there's actually a lot of research out there that shows that the belief in a higher power, and they don't specify what higher power, but that belief in a higher power tends to make people happier. So in this course, we're going to look at theory as it applies to youth, children, and adolescents. In your theories class, you were introduced to all of the theories individually, and hopefully there was a lot of attention on cognitive behavioral theory, solution-focused theory, Adlerian theory, and reality theory, because those are the 4 theories that you're most likely to see in school counseling. And honestly, CBT, solution focused, and reality are the primary 3 that are used. Theory, we've talked about how theory is a framework or a roadmap that helps you choose what information to collect or to listen to as you are counseling a student, and then what kinds of questions to ask and how you help them build their goals. And most of the time, school counselors use so there's directive theories and there's non-directive theories. For example, person-centered is a non-directive theory. In school counseling, we really don't use non-directive theories because we don't have that kind of time. So we use a fairly directed theory, but that doesn't mean that we find the answers or that we give them the goals or that we're in the business of advice giving, because we're not. It just means that we're in the business of asking the questions that will help them come up with their own goals and their own answers. So this week, we're going to be looking a lot at cognitive behavior theory. And here is our little agenda. So CBT is included in Chapter 5, so be sure and read Chapter 5 very thoroughly. So CBT is an interesting thing. Aaron Beck came up with cognitive theory, and Ellis came up with REBT. REBT has kind of lost out in popularity, but the behavior component was added to Aaron Beck's CBT, and that is one of the best researched and probably, there's more research to support its effectiveness than any other theory. That's how I'll say it. So, CBT recognizes that interconnection between thoughts and feelings and actions. You guys will see the little, I think it's on the next page, the little triangle, and I would screenshot that triangle or put it in your memory banks, however you will best remember it. So read the chapter, look at the CBT sites. There's some websites that are included. Look at the CBT worksheets, do the discussion board, and then you'll have another quiz. Remember that that quiz may contain information that's not in the book. That happened to some of you guys last week on the confidentiality, because I did discuss that in the class. So anyway, that doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. I know that sometimes I can be a little long and people can tune out. So CBT, triangle, the thoughts, feelings, and I think that's on here. So here we see the interaction between thoughts and behaviors and emotion. And those can go, those are very interconnected. And sorry, I lost my train of thought there. And it's important to remember that what we think affects both how we feel and how we behave. So this is the beginning, and it can go either way, but thought is the first thing. And so when you're talking about to students about how they're feeling or some behavior, what a question that you might ask is, what did you think right before you did that? Because the thought is connected both to the feeling and to the behavior. So in CBT, we do a lot of psychoeducation where we talk to students about how that is very interconnected, and to learn to track their thinking. So if you've got a student who acts out, who doesn't have good emotional regulation, this is a good way to teach them about emotional regulation. So you will see that there is CBT explained. There's a video on CBT, and then here is an introduction to CBT, and up here is another video. I don't know how much you remember about CBT from your theories class, but I can tell you that when you get to practicum, we're going to expect you to be very familiar with CBT. So this is your opportunity to have that, to gain that familiarity. One of the things that CBT is famous for is, if you've dealt with any teenagers, you know that they have a lot of automatic negative thoughts. And that's one of the primary things that CBT is very useful for, is helping them refute those automatic negative thoughts. There's a lot of techniques in cognitive behavior theory, and you should be able to read about those in this material. When you get to this discussion board, you want to take a look at these documents that have been uploaded to help you with constructing your discussion board. This core beliefs worksheet is very important in finding out what core beliefs are. And so understand that core beliefs is not exactly what you think core beliefs might be. Let me see if I can open that up. So core beliefs can be things that people are not aware that they have. So these core beliefs fall in these different categories, and sometimes they're very much at a subconscious level at least. So look through those and identify any of them that relate to you. And then fill that out and then review the information on challenging those negative thoughts. And sorry, I was like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look right. And then you have the practice scenario. So what we would like for you to do is practice this little scenario with somebody else, and then think about all of the statements that they make of irrational thinking. Almost anything that somebody says all or none, that's an irrational statement, right? Because there's very few things that are all or none. In fact, maybe nothing. And so look at the emotions and the resulting behavior. So just do your best on that. It's just intended for you to be able to look at how people would respond in a counseling session. And then for the last thing that you're going to do for the discussion board is you're going to find a CBT activity. You can find those. There are a million of them online, and you want to start building a database. Now, I will tell you that while I will accept worksheets, I really am not happy about anybody using a worksheet, except for so you can do it together, but especially younger children through middle school, writing is still a chore for them. And so a worksheet has a very a negative connotation. And if you just hand them a worksheet to fill out, then that's not okay. But now if y'all do it together, then I can see some benefit to that. But I kind of discourage worksheets. I know that you can buy all of those books with CBT worksheets, but it's kind of like any other kind of worksheet in school. And you don't want counseling to be like classes, okay? I mean, or at least not have the same monotony, I guess, that they might find in a class. Game boards and apps, whatever you can find out there, make it a challenge to see what is the most interesting thing that you can find. And these do need to be for a minor, so somewhere between 6 and 17. The reason that it has the bottom range of 6 is because really before that age, in my opinion at least, CBT is not necessarily a good theory to use with them, because I'm not sure that they have the cognitive development to be able to understand the connection there between their thoughts and behaviors. Okay. There is a quiz, and we're not going to obviously look at the quiz, but the quiz is worth 100 points. It is based on the material that's in your week 2. And because I know that many of you guys are working ahead, I want to go ahead and just real quickly look at week 3, like really quickly look at week 3. So week 3, there is no quiz in week 3. We will meet in week 3. You will read chapter 8 from the textbook, which is about play therapy. As a school counselor, you may not. So understand that play therapy is not a theory. Play therapy is something that is a technique in many different theories. So we have person-centered play therapy, we have Adlerian play therapy, we have CBT play therapy. We have it in many different, attached as a technique for many different theories, and each one of these theories has very different play therapy. So when we're talking about play therapy, we're not just talking about playing a game together. So we'll talk more about that next week, but I just wanted you to be aware, since I knew that many of you were working ahead. If you have any other questions, so read this and look at those different things. We're still talking about CBT in week 3. If you have any questions about week 3, don't hesitate to reach out because I'm glad to help you. I will see you guys next week.